is Steam actually getting filled with garbage? Every day, over 50 new games flood the store, and almost 70% of them are financial failures. Many are built using generative AI, but the player experience is thriving, recently hitting a new peak user count. This is how the good games are beating the slop. The first big problem is simply how many games are coming out. As of October 2025, Steam has already had over 15,000 games released this year, which by the end of 2025, that number will easily be 16 to 17,000. Already more releases than every single previous year other than 2024, which had 18,000. This constant flow is possible because Steam's $100 submission fee is a relatively low barrier to entry, but is designed as a gate to stop a larger flood if it was free to upload games. You give Steam $100 to post your game, and if it makes $1,000 back, Steam will give you the $100 deposit. Steam's open door policy means more people can upload games on the platform. For example, on a single day in July, over 40 paid games were released, which led to 18 of them gaining no traction. For most games, the chance to be seen on Steam is over almost immediately if Steam's algorithm doesn't pick you up. In 2025, peak days hit 80 to 90 releases. To put this in perspective, another example of this is that in March 2025, there was 1,800 releases. So as we are getting more games on the Steam platform, not all of them are making money. In 2025, so far over 5,000 games, that's 40% of all releases this year, failed to earn back the small $100 fee needed to publish a game. Even more than that, 65% of all Steam releases in 2025 didn't even make $1,000 in revenue, with the bottom 30% averaging just $37 in revenue. Think about that, 4 out of every 10 games released are complete financial failures, often earning an average of just $37 each. And it gets even worse, almost 48% of games sold fewer than 100 copies. Nearly half of all releases are basically being ignored by everyone. However, the money is all going to the top. This is the winner takes all market, and only 8% of games released on Steam in 2025 grossed over $100,000 so far. And that small 8% of games released takes home a massive 80% of the total revenue so far in 2025. So as we are seeing a massive rise in games getting released on Steam, the biggest new reason many are pointing to is AI, as AI tools make it extremely easy to create generic art, voices, or stories quickly and cheaply. The use of generative AI in new Steam games has jumped by a staggering 700% this year. Now, nearly 1 out of every 5 new releases on Steam uses some form of generative AI, and these are only the ones that are disclosing it. Steam currently has over 7,000 titles disclosing generative AI usage, which is around 7% of Steam's entire library. By looking at the trends, it seems like this percentage will only continue to get bigger, especially as AI companies are now hiring to make their own AI games. Interestingly, during the October 2025 Steam Next Fest, 507 out of the 2,960 demos, which is 17% of them, disclosed AI usage, showing that it's growing fast for game developers. Now, why does this matter? AI lets people skip the hard, time-consuming parts of game development. This can mean more creative indie games, but it often means faster slop. When it takes 2 days to create a whole game's worth of generic assets, people will flood the store with low-effort releases, hoping for a quick dollar. The rise of AI directly fuels the huge number of low-earning games that we just talked about, which is why it's now in 20% of all Steam releases this year. But that still doesn't count for the 40% of new releases which fail to make back their $100 deposit. So it's not all just because of AI. And to be fair, not every game that uses AI is bad, as there have been plenty of well-performing games that disclosed using generative AI. But there is no denying that it is definitely helping the push. Now, as we are seeing more games getting released, studies show that gamers are actually playing fewer games each year. Now, 34% of players spend their time on just 3 games or fewer annually. and this is where the top games get all the attention. This lines up with the revenue only going to the top percentage of game releases. According to Newzoo's 2025 gaming report, PC playtime grew by 6% year over year in 2024, but players are increasingly focused on a smaller number of titles. So even though more games are releasing than ever, gamers are playing less of them. They're just sticking to what they know is good. In fact, 2/3 of all PC playtime in 2024 was spent on games that were at least 6 years old. So even though Steam is getting filled with a bunch of new releases, players are just playing around it. Seeing as most of Steam's recommendation system is based off your playtime and what you enjoy, the less Slop you play, the less you see it. For games released in 2024, new release revenue increased tenfold since 2014. More specifically, over 200 new games passed $1 million in revenue, which is up 15% from the year before. This confirms that even with all these Slop, the breakout hits are making more money than ever before. Valve also pointed out that their top earners are doing very well. In 2024, over 500 games grossed more than $4 million, and they expect that number to grow by another 20% this year. So the message from Valve is clear: quality still wins, even in a crowded market. And beyond just the algorithm that runs Steam, Valve has taken action against low quality volume in the past, famously removing thousands of asset flip games that used pre-made store assets with no original content. They also upgraded the way user reviews are sorted, introducing a helpfulness score to prioritize informative high-value feedback so players can know if a game is good or not. Even in a sea where thousands of games are getting released that people will never play, indie games from small teams that prioritize quality and tap into what gamers crave are breaking through in 2025. These underdogs prove that smart design and genuine passion can cut through the noise. Take Megabonk, a roguelike developed by a solo creator, released in September 2025, and it sold over 1 million copies in just 2 weeks, with a peak concurrent player count of over 100,000. Other standouts like Schedule 1, which was also released this year and was a massive hit. So to answer the question, Steam is statistically getting filled with Slop that most players will never play. But functionally, it's not broken, especially as they're constantly improving their algorithm, which recommends you the games you want to play. A new recent update they added to Steam is the release calendar, showing you what games you might like and when they are releasing. Third-party sites have a similar feature, but they're not as personalized as Steam, which is based on your recommendations and what you like to play. So the good news here is that the massive successes are getting bigger, and for players it seems like they're focused on quality. But what do you think? Have you noticed the Slop on Steam, or do you find the games you want without a problem?